I'm Chris. I have a question for you. Who likes superheroes? All right, see a few hands over there. Oh, a couple over there. Hey, how about you in the back? Oh, just kidding. I really can't see your hands. But I bet many of you said, yeah, I like superheroes. And you are in good company. Lots of people like superheroes for many reasons. One thing that many superheroes share is that they have an origin story. An origin story is a tale that describes how the hero received his or her powers, or it could be a journey or quest that she or he has to take to obtain some special information, training, or a special item. Some famous origin stories include Peter Parker being bitten by a radioactive spider to become Spider-Man, Steve Rogers agreeing to take the super soldier serum to become Captain America, and then Barbara Gordon enduring years of training to become a Batman, a Batgirl, and then Oracle. We all, in fact, are experiencing a collective origin story with this pandemic. We don't know how it's going to play out. And it can ask us, many questions. For example, it can ask us, who am I going to become? With the mandates for masks to be worn in public places when you're indoors, or to be social distancing, it could make us sad to think about all the changes we have to make. But ultimately, our answer to this question will fall into one of two categories. You can either be positive or negative. Now, if you choose to be positive, that doesn't mean that you aren't going to be sad and maybe frustrated with the requirements that we now have, but you can choose to try to be happy, to be optimistic that tomorrow will be a better day than today, like you're hoping that today will be a better day than yesterday. And you can also be cheerful and help others out when you can. Or you can let that sadness and frustration turn into anger, and you can take a more negative route. And that anger could actually make you say things you don't mean, or it can make you make choices that you will regret later. I have my own origin story, which is not like this at all. Before March 2015, I was your average, ordinary husband and father of three who liked to run road races while dressed up as a superhero. Like you do. This picture on the left shows me dressed up as Captain America while I was running a marathon. This middle picture is of me actually winning a pretty tough 5K dressed as Wolverine, at least in the shirt, by the way. No claws were used. And in the picture on the right, I am dressed as a character named Strong Bad, and my brother Jeff is dressed as Thor, though I don't know why he's wearing a Batman shirt. Anyway, besides being a pretty big geek, as you can see, for lack of a better term, you can also see that I was pretty fit before March 2015. Well, in March 2015, I became sick. Pretty sick, in fact. I contracted necrotizing fasciitis, which is also known as flesh-eating bacteria. Yeah, it's as scary as it sounds. I needed several surgeries on my arm, shoulder, chest, back, and left leg. In fact, the infection had gone so far into my arm that doctors had to take a flap of skin from my left thigh and place it on my right hand. And since it's my thigh and my hand, I call it my thand. Copyright pending. And I know I might be joking about this, but the situation was quite dire for a while. In fact, at one time, I had a 30% chance of survival. And doctors were actually convinced at one point they might have to amputate my right arm. During my hospital stay, I had to ask myself who I was going to become when I was ultimately discharged. And I I had to think about, was I going to be positive or negative? If I were positive, I would need to choose to be thankful for the things I had, optimistic that the future was going to be better, happy with what I had at the time, and jovial and smile and joke around with people. Or was I going to be negative? Was I going to become morose and pessimistic and not think that the day was going to get better, or my future was not going to be as bright as it had been before I was hospitalized? Was I going to become angry and let that anger eventually turn possibly into post-traumatic stress disorder? Well, ultimately, I chose to become a more positive person. And when I made that choice, I asked myself three questions. The first question I asked was, what good things did I have in my life? And immediately, the big things came to mind. I thought about my faith, my family, my friends, my home, and my job. I teach online. Even before COVID, I was an online teacher. I've been teaching online for 8 years. So it's nothing new to me. And no, this is not me in the purple shirt. But then I started to think about the little things in my life. Those seemingly insignificant aspects of our lives that actually bring us that daily joy. And so at first, I thought about the show Daredevil, which is on Netflix. And the first season dropped while I was in the hospital. And I was able to binge watch it over and over and over again. And let me tell you, if you've never seen it, it is worth watching. The hallway scene alone is beautiful. Then I thought about how the sun didn't shine in my eyes when I was bedridden for the first couple weeks of my hospitalization. I know that sounds weird, but when you can't move and you can't control your environment, it's very frustrating when there's something bothering you. And the fact that the sun wasn't shining directly into my eyes during the day was something I really appreciated. And then I thought about the hospital pizza. Wow. I don't know if you're a big fan of pizza, but I am. And that hospital pizza just hit the spot every time. I'm not sure if it were because I hadn't had pizza in a while when I first had it, but man, it's so good. And then finally, I thought about the oxygen treatments that I needed to help accelerate my healing. And as you can see, the helmet that I had to wear made me look like Mr. Freeze from Batman. And I know that I'm saying this with a smile on my face, but I really did appreciate how this procedure helped me heal faster, because I don't want to think about how much more time I would have to spend in the hospital had that not worked so well. And so now I ask you, what good things do you have in your life? Please take a minute or two and think about, again, not just the big things, but the small things as well. I'm going to ask your teacher or leader to pause the video while you discuss this, and I'll make a silly face to entertain you. All right. So now that I had thought about the good things in my life, not only the big things, but also the small things, I then thought about, who did I appreciate? Who am I thankful for and why? And again, the obvious answers came to mind: my family and my friends. I do have to acknowledge my in-laws for not only housing my wife and my kids for the first couple of weeks during my hospitalization, but they also came to see me on their own during the week. And they also let Becky and the kids stay with them every weekend until I was discharged, so they can see me and we can still be a family in this tough time. My brother Jeff was also an immense help. He actually flew from Michigan twice to help me and the family out, and I will always love him for that. And then my best friend Dave and his wife Beth actually flew in from Montana to see me on a long weekend. And then my other friends popped in or sent me messages on social media, and so they will always have my appreciation. Then I thought about the medical staff. Yeah, sure. The Mayo Clinic, they have excellent doctors and nurses. But these nurses and doctors and other hospital staff were also very kind and friendly. And we actually became friends. The picture on the screen shows me and two of my nurse friends, Amanda and Aaron. And as you can see, even 5 years later, they still treat me as a friend. And I will always appreciate that. And then even kind strangers donated money and toys to my kids. And they showed me that you don't have to know someone to be kind to someone. And even though I will never, ever meet them, most likely, I will always think of them with a gracious heart. So now I ask you, who do you appreciate and why? Again, take a few minutes to discuss that. And I'm going to ask your teacher or leader to pause the video again, and I'll make another silly face that you can freeze and laugh at. All right. So now I had thought about the good things in my life, the big things and small things. I thought about the people in my life who I appreciated and why I appreciated them. Now I thought about how can I be someone else's hero? And yes, that is me dressed as Wolverine fighting Darth Vader. I will always love this picture. So I really couldn't do a lot in the hospital. But as soon as I was discharged, I started taking some actions. For example, I started mowing my neighbors' lawns on occasion, whether they be on vacation or in one neighbor's case, they just had twins. And as a fellow father of twins, I know how much work that is. So I wanted to help them out. I also still run regularly and I pick up garbage I see on the road or in someone's yard because I want my neighborhood to look beautiful. And finally, I open the door for people, whether they're holding groceries or maybe they're just behind me, or I can tell that they might need a little assistance. And the best part of all these acts of kindness is that it costs $0 to do them. It costs no money to be your hero. But to the person receiving the action, it is priceless. So, one more time, I ask you, how can you be someone else's hero? Again, take a couple minutes to discuss that. What kind of great or small acts of kindness can you think of that you can show someone else? And your teacher or leader will kindly pause this while I just stare at you. All right. So after I had answered these questions, I felt myself not only feeling more positive, but more motivated to see what I could accomplish after my discharge, after I left the hospital. And I've done some pretty cool things in the last few years. For example, this picture on the left shows me ringing the PR bell after the Twin Cities 10-mile race. I had run 10 miles faster than I had ever run before. And yes, I am wearing a tutu because you know what? It's kind of fun to run past people in a tutu. This middle picture is of me in Taekwondo class where I'm blindfolded and breaking two boards with a spinning sidekick. I recently earned my recommended black belt in Taekwondo, and I plan on continuing my training until I reach my ultimate goal of becoming a first degree black belt. And this picture on the right shows me slalom water skiing. And I've been water skiing ever since I was 6. And let me tell you, it is so fun to still be able to do this at my advanced age. Now, even though I'm having a lot of fun achieving these goals, I still struggle. In fact, skin grafts are non-porous, which means they don't sweat. So I have to take special precautions when I go out for long runs. Also, they don't stretch as well as regular skin does. So I have to make sure I get some extra stretching in before I do something. And I needed a leg muscle taken out of my left leg. So it tires out a little more quickly than my right does. And so even though I am still positive, I still struggle, but that doesn't keep me from enjoying myself and enjoying the actions and progress that I'm taking and making. So now I ask you, who are you going to become? And I know that's a pretty big question, but just please keep these things in mind. Be thankful for the good things in your life, not just the big things, but the small things as well. Let people know why you appreciate them, because there's a chance that if you tell someone that you liked what they did, they might do it again. And then finally, be someone else's hero. It costs no money to be kind to someone, and they could graciously appreciate it. You never know, it could actually make their day. So now, only you can continue your story. So make it a good tale to tell. Thanks a lot and have a great day. All right, where is that button? There. Oh, no, come on. Oh, do I have to move me? All right, here we go. Try it again.